Hello everyone, this is Shadow Cosmic here, and today I'm back with another episode of Next Review. So today I'll be covering SwordCraft, and for SwordCraft, get your snacks everybody, this is going to be a long list. So the reason why the list is so long is simply because there are a lot of viable things in SwordCraft. So I'm splitting this into 4 parts. Aggro, Midrange Part 1, which is the early game, Midrange Part 2, the mid to late game, and lastly Honourable mentions. So without further ado, here we go. We'll start off with Aggro. Aggro is losing quite a bit of things actually. They're losing Ninja Trainee, Vanguard, Palace Fencer, Centaur Vanguard, Luminous Knight, Princess Vanguard, Novice Trooper, Pompous Princess, and Swift Infiltrator. Okay, so let's go through one by one. Ninja Trainee and Vanguard are both just solid 1-drops. Vanguard is your vanilla 1-2 that it's just good to play on turn 1. Ninja Trainee, although I know a lot of people would rather prefer Quick Blade over him, he's a solid 1-drop because he has stealth, so it simply means that he cannot be targeted by turn 1 removal like Blazing Breath, so on and so forth. So yeah, those two are solid 1-drops that are going to be rotated out. Luckily there's still Quick Blader, but I think that's the only 1-drop that's gonna be left remaining for SwordCraft. Palace Fencer, Centaur Knight, Luminous Knight, Princess Vanguard, all solid 2-drops. Princess Vanguard is especially strong if you couple it with a 1-drop. She gives one of the 1-drops +1 attack, and she herself has a 1-3 stat line, which gives quite a bit of value. Palace Fencer as well, if you play Palace Fencer on turn 2, you also give the 1-drop +1 attack. As well, Palace Fencer has a 2-1 stat line, which means it can deal a lot of damage to the face. Centaur Vanguard is usually coupled together with Perseus. Oh yeah, Perseus is also a good 1-drop that's not rotating out. I forgot about him. Centaur Vanguard can be coupled with Perseus. So if you have Perseus on 1, then Centaur Vanguard will have Storm on 2. And Storm, 2 damage to face on turn 2. Yeah, it's very strong. It can snowball very quickly. Lastly, Luminous Knight. Luminous Knight, you really don't see it very often, but she is nonetheless a very good card. If you have a full board and you evolve Luminous Knight, you give your entire board +4 attack basically. Very strong card for finishers. She usually isn't seen being played in speak English. She usually isn't seen being played in aggro very often, but I've seen some lists that messed around with her, and if they manage to consistently fill the board, Luminous Knight can be a very clutch card to use. Novice Trooper, solid turn 3 drop, just 2/2 with Storm. Go face. That's the only thing SwordCraft, aggro SwordCraft does anyway. Pompous Princess, it's with the new cards that come in, like Princess Juliet. Pompous Princess really hasn't been Pompous Princess isn't seeing so much play anymore, but she is still nonetheless a very good card. She can summon a Ninja Trainee, Vanguard, Perseus, Quick Blader, any 1-drop in your deck. So she's better for a wider board, but of course with Juliet and Novice Trooper, if you can get Storm damage in, of course you want to go for them. As for the last one, Swift Infiltrator. Swift Infiltrator actually isn't being seen usually isn't seen at all, but I used to run her in my old SwordCraft deck, and that's why she's here. I like her for finisher, simply because you evolve something, you plop her onto the board, your opponent takes care of your entire board except her, since she has ambush. And since she has ambush, they can't really deal with her very well. That's why I think Swift Infiltrator is a very key card. Of course, nowadays people use Kunoichi Master along with which summons the Kunoichi Trainee as another stealth finisher option, which I think is actually better, but you know, I like Swift Infiltrator, so that's that. So that's it for aggro. Losing quite a few key cards, but oh well. no more turn 5 exits. I'm fine with that. After that, we're moving on to mid-range. So for mid-range, since there are too many cards, are split into 2 parts. The first part is mid-range, the early game. The second part is mid-range, the late game. So for mid-range, the early game, we are losing Fervid Soldier, Veteran Lancer, Mate Leader, Whole Sword Swing, Ruthless Assassin, and White Paladin. So, Fervid Soldier, it's just a good 2-drop. Nowadays, you don't really see it being played much, except in decks that really have a lot of commanders in. Then perhaps they'll consider putting it in as a 2-drop. But nowadays, you see people really don't play much. Like, they have better 2-drops to go for. Veteran Lancer, a solid 2-drop, just turn 2 ward. It's just been good to ward off aggro or just to play on the board to develop the board a little bit. Yeah, Veteran Lancer, just a decent solid 2-drop. Mate Leader, as many of you know, she's already not being played a lot. Her replacement is Lux Solar Lancer, who arguably has better stats than her and does the job better than her. Yeah, so unfortunately, Mate Leader already isn't seeing much play, and her rotating out isn't really gonna make much of a difference since we have Lux. But oh well, just for information, yeah, she's rotating out. Whole Sword Swing. Now, Whole Sword Swing is a one quite a big. It's quite important for SwordCraft. It's because it's one of the cards that allow you to fight for tempo while it's the same idea, a spell that removes and summons something at the same time. It's similar to Nighthawk for Bloodcraft, just that for Nighthawk it's a turn 4 drop, a turn 4 spell, which means it's much more expensive and harder to ward off aggro. Whole Sword Swing is perfect for warding off aggro simply because usually aggro have a bigger board than you by turn 2. You kill something and you summon a 1-1, and since it's aggro, the 1-1 can trade quite well. So Whole Sword Swing is really a very good card. Even without the 1-1 summon, it's just a 2 cost to deal 2 damage, which is it's just solid. So kind of sad to see Whole Sword Swing go, but nonetheless, for our other removal options, I guess we have I don't remember the name, the Fireball Jutsu for 2 damage, 2 cost deal 3 damage, that ninja spell. But other than that, I think Sword doesn't really have a lot of removal options, so losing Whole Sword Swing might have quite a big impact. Ruthless Assassin, 1-1 with Bane. If you have a commander gain Storm, it's okay. She used to see much more play, but then nowadays, there are replacements, like a lot of people use Ogre Hunter Momo, simply because Momo can do her job and is slightly more flexible with a better stat line, and the only thing is Momo only gains Bane if the enemy has a follower that has 5 or more attack. But then again, if the enemy follower doesn't have 5 attack, you really won't need the Bane anyway. I believe I saw Ruthless Assassin being played more during the Atomy era, where Lord Atomy with Staircase to Paradise just steamrolled everyone. But after that era passed, I think Ruthless Assassin, you didn't see it so much anymore. But nonetheless, it was and I think it's still a pretty solid card for removal, seeing as Sword doesn't have much removal in the first place. So Ruthless Assassin rotating up. Yeah. White Paladin. Now I know everybody knows the terrifying Mars White Paladin combo. Summon like 3 2-drops, 3 2/2s with ward. Yeah, everybody knows that combo. But now White Paladin is rotating out, so it's all good. Also, alone White Paladin is already quite a fun card. I think if your opponent has an aggro, it punishes them perfectly. If your opponent has a small board, then it's just a 3/2 with ward, which is okay. So yeah, I really like the card. Sad that she's rotating out, but oh well, can't be helped. So that's it for the early game of Midrange. Now we're moving on to the late game of Midrange. The late game of Midrange, we're losing Aurelia, Regal Saber, Sea Queen Otohime, Tsubaki, Awita's Command, Front Guard General, and lastly Leonidas. So starting off, as you can see, there are much more gold and legendary cards here. Aurelia Regal Saber, she's a very OG card actually, came out with the classic set, but she's been a solid card. I know a lot of people don't play her anymore because she's much a very defensive card, not very offensive. But you know, when aggro is running rampant, like there were times where Bloodcraft was going crazy, aggro sword, there was a period with PDK and aggro sword, people tried experimenting with this list. I saw a few Aurelias around, simply because one, Aurelia cannot be targeted by spells and effects if your opponent has 3 or more followers in play, which means she's basically like a 4/6 which cannot be targeted by spells with ward. That really punishes aggro hard, especially on turn 5, because on turn 5 they get access to Dance of Death and a bunch of other things that simply cannot kill Aurelia, so they really have to trade in, which usually makes it a very good defensive option. But of course, offensive wise, Aurelia really isn't that good, so I think that's why nowadays she isn't seen in many mid-range decks, simply because she's not proactive enough as a card. Sea Queen Otohime, of course you don't see her being played as much, but you still do see some lists with her and like Captain Wilfred to try to get a wonky combo off. She's a fun card. Yeah, that's about it. Tsubaki, I know a lot of people don't play it, but at least I play in my mid-range slot, simply because I think she's a great card. You remove a big drop, you develop a 4/3 with ambush on the board. Just a great card, really. It's the same. It's a good card to fight for tempo. It's the same logic. You remove something while you play something. Simple enough. Outweightia's Command, the 6-cost spell that everybody's terrified of, especially in aggro. By the way, should have mentioned this earlier. A lot of the cards are interchangeable. That's why this list might not be like some cards might belong in other areas. Like Outweightia's Command can be used for aggro as well. Aurelia can be used for like control, I guess, but there's no control list anyway. So Outweightia's Command, summon a 3/2 with Storm and a 2/3 with Ward. Just a card that develops tokens on the board. It's a good card. Always was, always is. And for aggro, it's just things that develop tokens on the board. Great card. Franga General, this is used in more control lists along with Leonidas. Of course, Franga General, sorry, 5/6 that develops, that leaves a 2/3, both with ward. When it dies, a great defensive card. Simply drop it on turn 7, your opponent probably have to spend a turn to deal with it. Leonidas, the big gun that you kill, you pretty much are gonna have a tough time. You let it live, you're also gonna have a tough time. So the enemies really don't have a tough time when Leonidas hits the board. Especially nowadays, since you have, what do you call it, Unchefed Blade. I've seen someone do an Unchefed Blade. Leonidas rush it into an Atomy and gain the amulet at turn 5, then all hell broke loose. So yeah, that was fun. But other than that, these two cards are also rotating out. So Franga General, just a good defensive option on turn 7 that's rotating out. Leonidas can be good for control matchups. Usually you can tag one copy inside there for control matchups, because he simply gives you so much value with his amulet. So yeah, those two cards are rotating out. Lastly, we go on to honorable mentions. Now this list, it's a funny list. We'll go on. Honorable mentions has Rogue Screed, Shadowed Assassin, Avant Blader, Dragonute Charlotte, and Alexander. So yeah, this list is very questionable. We start off with the easiest one. Alexander is because I really, it's just a legendary. I don't really see why the card is here unless you're really going for control sword. But other than that, I don't see why Alexander is here. Nobody ever plays him, like ever. So yeah. Dragonute Charlotte, basically she's one of my favorite cards, at least. 4/7 with Ward and Storm. Sometimes you just don't draw your Alberts. You can play her, you can deal direct damage to the face, or you can use her to trade. Since she has ward as well, she's a great card for defensive and offensive plays. Just a very versatile card that I like a lot. Also, I think the art is nice. Avant Blader, she's just here because I found her very useful. Last time I just tagged one copy in my aggro slot, and when I ran out of steam, Avant Blader usually could fetch me like the 2 damage I needed. So yeah, she's just here for its honorable mentions. I really don't need a reason. These cards are not like great and being seen and seeing play everywhere. They're just honorable mentions. Oh god. Shadow Assassin, because once again I really like the card a lot. Give everything stealth. I tried to do a flame and glass combo. Give the flame and glass both stealth, and then hopefully next turn they will become flame and glass. Yeah, something like that. But it was a fun combo. I think I pulled it off once, and then every other time it died. But oh well. Lastly, Rogue's Creeds, simply because they tried to make a ambush sword mechanic, an ambush sword deck that really never worked. So it's just here for the sake of being here because they gave the effort to try to make an ambush sword deck. Yeah, that's about it. Oh well. Anyways, that's it all for this list of SwordCraft. SwordCraft's losing quite a few cards, being a very a very board oriented deck. I think losing a lot of these pieces will actually affect the deck quite heavily. Lucky for them, they haven't lost the Sky Knights. Prepare for battle yet, but next expansion, boys, next expansion after Chronogenesis. So that's all for this next review. It's a bit of a messy one, but oh well. So if I missed anything, or if any comments and anything, do you think it will affect the meta? Do you think Sword will really suffer terribly with all these cards rotating out to unlimited? What do you think? If you have anything to say, just post it in the comments below and I'll read them. So see you again next time. Bye bye.